Hello, my name is Joe Canine, the Video Whisperer, and today I'm going to do a review of the Sony NEX EA50. And you're looking at me through the lens of the EA50 right now. What's unique about this particular video camera are two things. One, it's in the 4,000 pound range, and it's a full sensor video camera. Now, I'll show that to you in a second, but in order to do that, let's switch cameras. Well, there it is. The Sony NEX EA50. This is a full-featured professional video camera, and like in the review I did for the NX30, I'm not going to go so much into the bells and whistles and technical specs and all that. You can look it up on the internet. What I'd rather do is show you what the camera can do in practice, in application, and let's talk about how easy it is to use or not, and what type of cinematography, videography it may be most suited for. One of the things I realized early on about this camera, it's not a run and gun camera. That said, everything I shot on this camera was handheld. But my point is, I'd much rather go around with my NX30 doing that type of work. This camera is designed to be on a tripod. In a corporate shoot, controlled situation, a wedding shoot, a film or something like that, you have the option to switch prime lenses. To change lenses, you really need to be in a very clean environment. You don't want to get dust specks on that sensor. There's all kinds of settings. You can go into the menus and tweak things in on color, temperature, and facial tone, and all the rest of that sort of stuff. It's just a little bit more fiddly and time-consuming in terms of setting it up to get the quality that you want. So I wouldn't really call this a very, of course you can tell by its size too. And another thing, it comes with this, which is supposedly a shoulder mount. Now I'm going to be less charitable than some of the other reviewers who commented on that and tell you this shoulder mount is absolutely useless. It could not have been designed by a cameraman. Because the idea of a shoulder-mounted camera is the center of gravity of the camera is over your shoulder, so there's very little weight on your hand. And as you can see, all this does is put the camera forward of your shoulder, and you've got the entire weight of the camera on your hand. So I'll just keep that thing pushed in. It's not really going to, unless you want to look impressive, you know, look like a news guy or something like that, walk around like this. But, just kidding. That's useless. But the point is, this camera wants to be put on a tripod. It wants you to go in there and set up all the settings for the scene that you're shooting. So I can see using this in a corporate shoot or a film shoot, like shooting a movie or something like that. And for that, it performs great. It's a 4,000 pound camera. It's not a 15,000, 20,000 pound camera. What's good about the camera is its full-size sensor and the depth of field you get therefore, and the ability to put prime lenses on it. I only had the zoom lens that came with it. I didn't have any adapter, so I couldn't put my Canon lens on it, but this is a 3.5, f3.5 lens. Now, one of my Canon lenses is a 1.8. If you put a 1.8 on this, I'm pretty sure, and I wish I could show you, but I can't, I'm pretty sure you would get the same depth of field you're accustomed to with DSLR shooting. And that would be the strength of this camera. You can get the DSLR look, but the full features and the full audio capability of a video camera. All right, so I think it's time to now start showing you some footage and what the camera can actually do. But first, a couple more points to mention. Number one, price correction. It's a $4,000 camera. Here in the UK, you can find them for around $2,700, I think, at their lowest, between 2,700 and 2,900 pounds. So it's under 3,000 pounds for a full sensor video camera. Okay, point number two, media. I used a 32 gigabyte SD Class 10 card in there. Sony also makes XC cards that go into that slot, and those record a mirror, so basically two copies of what you're shooting. And then if you turn the camera around, on the back there, you'll see it will take a flash memory unit as well. Sony sells those as an additional accessory. You can set the camera up to record simultaneously to the SD card and the flash drive, or separately, your choice. So if you use the Sony mirroring cards, you'll have a copy there. In fact, if you use that and the flash external drive, you'll have three copies, 2 backups. Anyway, the point is there's all kinds of options on media and media management. Third thing I wanted to mention was the menu access. There's a little scroll wheel on the side there that I used for a while quite clumsily, because it took a bit for my finger to get traction on that knurled knob, and I was inadvertently pressing it while trying to turn it, which would activate the wrong menu, and I had to back out of it, and it was a real pain in the butt. I didn't like that. But then, much to my chagrin, I discovered later, on top of the camera, there's another way to access the memory, which is a lot more user-friendly. You push the menu button there to get into the menu, and then there are rocker switches that will allow you to scroll up, down, sideways, and the center button you push to select. That's the one to use. And finally, there is a viewfinder extension you can clamp onto that thing, which might be handy if you're using a tripod for shooting, and also in that handheld configuration. At least it gives you a point that you can press against your eye to help with the stability in the handheld shots if you're going to use that shoulder pad thing. Okay, so now to the footage. I'm seeing it myself for the first time today. I've just strung together a bunch of stuff to show you. And as I thought, the real strength of the camera is its depth of field. Lack of, or its shallow depth of field capabilities, its DSLR-like look. And mind you, I was using an f3.5 zoom lens, not prime lenses, so the first thing I'm going to show you is a comparison I did between my Sony NX30, which I'm shooting with right now, and downstairs when they did the first part of the video, I matched the image size on the Sony NX30 and the EA50, and there is, as you can see, at f3.5 a fairly dramatic difference in depth of field, which tells me when you start shooting with prime lenses around f2.28 or f1.8 or 1.4 even, whatever lenses you have to shoot with, you are going to get that really nice soft out of focus background effect, particularly when you're shooting close-ups and portrait shots and things like that. Even these shots, which aren't particularly close-up, you can see there's a shallow depth of field effect, even at a relatively high f-stop. I think these were about f7. This is the start of an actual English hunt, day after Christmas. All right, now to my own backyard. This is the wide shot, but we're about to zoom in on these, the weeds there again. I think it was about f7, f9, and here again a wide shot. And I know for a fact this next one was f7. Look at that nice shallow depth of field. Now, I'm zoomed way in, and this is handheld, so sorry about the shaky stuff. Now we're full wide, and this is really to show you the resolution of the camera. You've got lots of little detail in there. It's quite nice. Well, this is an old ruin in the backyard of a friend's house, and I always wanted to go in there, and so I did the day after Christmas. In fact, this place was so spooky, I could even hear the sort of the horror music, you know, playing as I walk through these spaces. Hey, I hear it again. Funny how it justifies the jerky camera movement. One day I'm going to go back and see what's in that cabinet. Oh, notice these little subtle automatic exposure shifts. I'm going to cover that in a little more detail in a later series of shots. Well, fortunately, Sony sent 2 lenses along with the camera, so this is the other one. Just kidding. Alright, sorry about the shaky beginning there, but check this out. This is the range of the zoom lens that comes with the camera, and it's pretty impressive. Now there is also a digital zoom, and check this out. It's not very good. I wouldn't ever use it because it's not very sharp. But now look, see where the car is passing in the background? There's the guy on the ladder. Both shots were shot from the same position. I think that's pretty impressive. This is that 12 by 12 room that I shot the first part of the video in. The camera's in the same position, fully zoomed out. So that gives you an idea of how useful it might be in shooting interviews, which are often in small spaces. All right, since I thought this might be of interest to wedding videographers, here's some shots inside churches. I think I did a couple of different churches here. There were no lights on in these churches. This is just what's coming through the windows. Actually, it's a little bit darker than it appears here. The NX30 would do better at this sort of walking shot, but what the heck, that's the best I could do with that one. All right, this next series is going to take us from dusk to dark during some Christmas fairs just before Christmas. Oh, and boy, did I luck out. I had no idea Santa was coming to town that day. What you'll be looking for here is noise in the shadows, and so far these are looking pretty clean. All right, we're definitely now well past sunset, as you can see by the sky there. All right, this is a long, slow zoom, and what you should be looking for here is the fact that the exposure is shifting slowly as we zoom back, even though I'm in manual mode. This is the one drawback of the camera. You cannot lock the ISO. You cannot put it in full exposure lock. Now watch this. See that shift? That's nothing you really ever want to have show up in your footage. It's better to be able to lock the exposure and let things blow out, and in editing go back and take your highlights down to 100, and that's the way, at least when you pan your camera or zoom your camera, you're not having these constant automatic shifts in exposure. Anyway, I couldn't figure out how to exposure lock this camera, so if anyone out there does know, please let me know and I'll update this blog. My own research, all I found was on another blog out there, some guy had it on his wish list for the EA50 exposure lock. So I'm not the only one that couldn't figure it out. And if we're right about this, Sony, take note and do something about it in a future firmware update. Anyway, realize, all that said, it doesn't have to get in your road. In most controlled shooting situations, like a film shoot or a wedding shoot or interviews and things like that, it's not a problem. And the big plus, of course, is now you can take all of your prime lenses from your Nikon, your Canon, or whatever else, get the appropriate adapter for this camera, and now you have a full-featured, shallow depth of field video camera at a low price. What more can you ask for? All right, well, that's all I've got on this camera. See you on the next video.